We're here today with fellow Quincy president, Quincy University, who is also a Bryan.
True. One of us spells his name correct.
That's true. One of us does. Dr. Bryan McGee, president of Quincy University. Welcome to John Wood. It's great to have you on campus, and it's good to see you again, as always.
Thank you, Dr. Renfro. It's always a pleasure. Shall we Bryan it or doctor each other? I never know what to do.
I know, right?
I'm going to Bryan you. Okay?
That's fine, and I'll Bryan you right back.
All right, that's great to hear. It is always a pleasure to be here on the John Wood campus. This always feels like second home. We have to do so much work and great work for the Quincy community, for Adams County, and for our service region. So I'm grateful for that partnership, and it's been a real treat getting to know you since you arrived at John.
It has been. I would say likewise. I couldn't have asked for a better partnership with the president coming in to my first presidency. So that's been a great experience also. And I think, the partnership between QU and John Wood is longstanding. And from where I'm sitting, it may look better than it ever has, too.
I think we have a great mature partnership. I mean, Quincy University and John Wood Community College have been working together literally since John Wood was created. The partnership's taken different forms over the decades, but you and I both inherited a partnership that was working well understood, and I think we've just made it better with changes like this year's signing of some new articulation agreements that help to create transparency and ease of movement from John Wood to Quincy University for those students who want to move on for the bachelor's degree. And of course, our partnership means that we are always talking to each other about how better to serve the Quincy region.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that real quickly I learned about you that we have in common, and that's our focus on student success. Looking at ways that we can continually improve to make things better for our students.
Couldn't agree more. If they do 2 years at John Wood, we want them to have 2 years and be out the door when they get to Quincy University. If they start with us, we want them done in 4 years. I made that happen for my own children, and I want to make that happen for every person who comes to us, whether they're a young person or a not so young person.
Yeah.
We have an admissions counselor who can help people work through those questions, who's literally on your campus once every other week.
Yeah.
Nobody will feel a lack of attention if they come from John Wood to QU and say, I'm interested.
Well,
I'm interested 2 years.
Why we see QU as one of the preferred, probably our top transfer destination for our students.
Well, I think it's I think for you, we're the top transfer destination. For us, you're our top resource for transfer students. 40% of our transfer students come straight from John Wood. Most of them are from Quincy, Adams County, and the surrounding communities, and it works beautifully.
Not too long ago when I had just gotten here, I got to come over and spend a day with you. It was still cold. It's not today. I'm enjoying the Texas heat. Most people around here aren't.
There's no difference between this and South Texas, and we should confess that I also lived in Texas. So
that's right.
And so we both we had compared Texas notes from time to time.
So, but I got to, you gave me a personal tour of your beautiful campus, and I had never really been on the campus before, other than back in December when I met you for just a few minutes. And I was just really impressed by the facilities. It's just a beautiful campus.
Well, thank you for that, Bryan. And I'd say the state of Illinois and Adams County and all those who had inputs on this campus and its building from the 1990s to present did a wonderful job. And I think it's a real privilege for us to be able to say, look, if you study in Quincy, whether you're at at John Wood or you're at QU, you're going to have great resources. You're going to have what you need inside and outside the classroom to succeed. And that all comes back to the work we've done, beginning with the designing of our physical space to create an environment that's welcoming, that's supportive, and that helps people succeed. Because you and I both know, and we both preach to all of those around us, that college is a scary experience for someone. Everyone's doing it for the first time when they walk through the doors, or they're doing it for the second and third time because the first and second times didn't go well, or at least as people expected. They need help and guidance to make sure that this experience is manageable. It is hard enough to go through the challenge of teaching and learning, and getting a degree or certificate or that class you need with the new skills that are required. It's even harder if you have problems figuring out how to pay for the experience or figuring out where to get the books, how to get the materials you need. My parents were first-generation college students. My grandparents didn't get past the ninth grade. I mean, they were bright people, but all this was new and terrifying to them, and they still talk about the experience they had in financial aid that almost got them off track and out of college.
Yeah.
So we want to make sure that never happens to a single student at QU, and I know it's exactly the same for you.
That's
John.
Exactly the same philosophy. You know, we embrace first-generation college students and really try to bridge that cultural gap. And my parents were first-generation college students. My grandparents also didn't make it beyond the eighth grade, and so we share a similar background there. And I think also as a result of that, the value of education from our family, you know, transcending from that generation of no college to first generation of college. You know, to me, I look back at my grandparents, and some of the proudest moments that I've seen them is reflect on both of their children graduating from college, right? And so I think embracing that philosophy and kind of pushing it forward is something both of our institutions do very well.
Well, and we know that the opportunity to go on for some post-secondary experience past high school and get those additional skills can transform a family. My parents' experience forever transformed my family.
Right.
Created economic security, created opportunities that would never have existed otherwise. And I'm a guy who grew up in a town of 700, so I know what it's like to go to go from a place where you know literally everyone to Quincy seems like an awfully big city to some of my students, and I suspect some of yours.
Yeah.
And we've got to make sure that we are a community that reaches out and is welcoming and is supportive of every student.
Yeah.
And I feel like we're doing that very well at QU, and I think that John Wood does it very well.
Well, thank you. And you spent a little time in the Low Country too, as I recall.
I did. I spent 15 years in South Carolina. I'm a kid whose family is from Western Illinois, and part of my childhood involved Galesburg, and my family's from Galesburg, Peoria area.
Uh-huh.
But thanks to my education, I've been able to work in 7 states. I've been able to have the kind of experiences, thanks to an education that my grandparents, my great-grandparents didn't have, and we want to create that same family transformational experience that mine had.
Yeah. So, back to your campus, one of the other things I noticed when I was over there is you have a lot of squirrels. Our squirrel population.
There are people who love squirrels and want to feed the things. I think they're rats with tails.
Yeah.
They just annoy me.
Well, and it struck me odd when I first got on this campus. It's just,
let me clear.
We didn't have any squirrels.
You don't have any squirrels?
We don't have any squirrels.
That sounds like perfection to me.
Well, and I started to research that, and I started to ask around, what's up with the deal? We don't have any squirrels. I was over there, at QU with Dr. McGee, and there were squirrels everywhere. And they said, years ago, we started trapping them and taking them over there and letting them out.
So all our squirrels are part of some vast John Wood conspiracy. Is that what you're telling me?
Well, I don't know. I don't not want to jump on the conspiracy theory bandwagon. I'm just saying, we don't have any squirrels, and you do.
Well, too many of the things. This is what happens when you got a bunch of big old trees too. But there's a university in Missouri, I won't name it, that years and years ago decided they didn't have enough squirrels. They actually spent state money to repopulate the squirrels on their campus. I'm thinking I have better uses for my resources.
Well, maybe that's an outlet for, we're always talking about diversifying our revenue streams. So if you create a squirrel, export program.
People have a lot of fun on our campus with the fact that, McGee loves animals and he's pet friendly and all that. But the one thing he doesn't care for is a squirrel. So, but I know a question you're interested in for today is, what do you tell students when they graduate? What wise words of wisdom do you lay on students?
Well, one of the things that, after you've done a couple graduation speeches, for years I did graduation speeches at police academies, fire academies, and paramedic pinnings, kind of working my way up. And this spring was my first presidential graduation. And I found that my message really wasn't much different from those. And that was one is that really, while graduation may seem like the end, it should just be the beginning, right? And this really should just signify that you can accomplish anything that you want to. And what I would encourage you to do is never stop learning, right? So for your associate's degree, to start to think about your bachelor's. You've proved you can do this. There's no reason that you can't do that. And, for those to even think beyond that and think post-baccalaureate, think graduate, master's, But I think also more important, it's about finding something that you love to do. And I think that education gives you the opportunity to do that more than not if you don't have it.
I think that's great advice. I give much the same advice with regards to finding that thing you love and trying to figure out a way to make money at it.
Yeah,
a good
right.
living. And so it's great counsel. Like you, I've given a few commencement addresses, and if you want to, anyone wants to read a couple that I've given, they're on my website. But beyond sort of finding that thing you love to do and figuring out a way to make it work for you, I know that one thing I often tell people is, in the end, the educational experience in part is about developing resilience and grit and flexible skills. Most of our students will change careers at some point after they leave. I promise you, I wasn't thinking about being a college or university president when I finished my bachelor's degree. I was just worried about what my first job would be, but in the end, the skills that were developed back then are still serving me very well now. But part of the educational experience also is about finding new ways to develop resilience and grit. And some of the students we have come to us with all the resilience and grit in the world, and I'm just awed by their life stories.
True.
But we have other people who are just figuring it out when they get to QU or to John Wood. And part of this experience is teaching them how to roll with it and deal with adversity. And I'm very proud of the accomplishments of my students, but I'm just as proud of those who didn't have everything go just right and then had to figure it out later.
Yeah, and I think one of the biggest challenges, I mean, I agree with you. I think we have students that come here that are just, they know what they're going to do. They know all the right steps to take to get there, and they just plow ahead. Tremendous work ethic. And we have others that just don't have that and lack it. We have to meet them where they're at and help them too. And sometimes I think the biggest challenge is getting them to ask for help, right? Or us being able to figure out that they need help.
Absolutely. And getting those folks to walk forward and say, I need assistance is a hard thing. And so we're coaching people on how to ask for help a good bit of the time. I completely agree.
You know, and I think that's not just a higher education skill, it's a life skill that they can take out of it as well.
Well, I always chuckle with folks who say that we're preparing students for the real world. I mean, the fact is that the real world is happening in every classroom, in every hallway, for us in every residence hall, giving people the skills that help them to succeed in the next real world experience they're going to have. So how are you connecting with Quincy? You and your wife just moved here. I mean, what things are you finding here to enjoy?
You know, we have longstanding ties, roots to the area. My wife's from Pike County, grew up, born and raised in Pittsfield, and her folks have lived in Quincy for 6, 7, 8 years now. So we've been coming in and out of the area, but it's interesting because you come into an area and it's very different, I think, when you come into it, and now you're a resident. There are a lot of things you take for granted.
Well, I'm going to give a Pittsfield plug. Gianni's Pizza in Pittsfield. There's some great pizza in this region.
That's a good one.
Gianni's great. And I enjoy that place very much. I go every now and then. I got to get my Gianni's fix.
Yeah, that is a good one. In Jacksonville, Leo's Pizza, and there's some sort of relationship between those. I don't know. I think you have to be local to truly understand that. I haven't been cracked that code yet, but
we'll leave it to our Pike County friends on that one.
But yeah, there is, and that's one of the things. I've been I'm a foodie. I love food. So coming out of Texas barbecue, you just learn that there is no other barbecue but in Texas. But that's okay. I had some good stuff here.
Our friends in Kansas City might have something to say to you about that. Or our friends in the Carolinas, given my time there.
Certainly.
I'm gonna admit, if I'm choosing between Carolina barbecue and Texas barbecue, I'm taking Texas.
Yeah, right, hands down.
So what's next for John Wood? What should QU be gearing up to see?
One of the things I'd like to see is our faculty getting together more, and really talking about what they see in their third and fourth year students that we could better prepare to be more successful.
We always begin with the question: how do we make sure we are absolutely transfer friendly? How do we make sure that we do not create any barriers to the success of students who come? And we begin with John Wood. It's the first institution we think about as we think about how do we make transfers work, because we have to serve this community well. Yeah. I mean, one of the things that I think we're always talking about is the fact that a student comes with a family, and so
true.
And the family can make the students transition through college to college life, and as a college student go so much better, and families work so hard to do that. Of course, that all begins with the decision to come to John Wood or to come to QU. What role do you see parents play?
Well, I think, parents are critical in supporting, right? And some parents naturally, because of their experiences, are more adept at supporting the transition to college than others who may not have that experience. And so we try to really cater to helping the parents understand the decisions, the process, and the outcomes. Obviously, parents are usually more astute or concerned with financial obligations. So we want to be able to give them the best financial aid advice as possible. But, there's a fine line there, too, because we also want to start that student on their journey of independence, right? And being able to make some of those decisions for themselves.
And, of course, you have students who are not yet 18. You have students who might be 30 or 40 years old. So we're not talking about parents usually when we're talking about a 35-year-old who's reskilling.
Well, a lot of our students are parents.
Yeah, exactly. The students we talk to, and for you a little more than for me, but I have some as well, especially for graduate students. But we've got to meet their needs and answer their questions as well. And I know both of our institutions work very hard to do that.
And one of the other things, being an open enrollment institution, one of the things I think we have to work with parents on too, you can go 2 year here and catch up on that academic preparedness. And then with a partnership like QU, be able to transition and meet those transfer admission requirements and be successful.
Now, sometimes people aren't ready for our journey, and John Wood has played a magnificent role in helping people to catch up, to get those skills, and then the universe is theirs, and all the options are available to them.
Awesome. Well, I can't tell you what a great time I've had visiting with you today. Like always, I think if I could say one thing about visiting with you is that it doesn't get to happen enough.
That is absolutely true. We're 30 blocks away from each other here in Quincy, Illinois, and I just wish we spend more time together.
I couldn't agree more.
But we will keep working on that, especially as my new family gets resettled.
Definitely.
And as your family gets settled, we'll spend more time together, because every time we do that, something good happens for our institutions, and something good happens, I hope, for this community.
Yeah. Well, again, thanks for coming over today. Thanks for sharing this time with me. And as always, great